I dare you. Kevin's voice sliced through the tense silence, hanging in the air like a challenge that couldn't be ignored.
Chicken, he added, his eyes gleaming with mischief and a hint of malice.
3 pairs of eyes fixed on the dilapidated house, silhouetted against the blood-red sunset. It loomed over them, a decaying giant with vacant eyes and a gaping maw of a doorway. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying wood.
No way, stammered Jake, his voice barely a whisper. Everyone knows it's haunted. The stories of ghostly apparitions and eerie sounds echoed in his mind.
Scared, Jakey? Taunted Lisa, her bravado barely masking a tremor in her voice. She tried to sound tough, but the fear was evident in her eyes.
Guys, maybe this isn't a good idea, whispered Sarah, her eyes darting around nervously. The forest seemed to close in on them, shadows dancing menacingly.
But Kevin was already striding towards the house, his laughter echoing in the twilight. He seemed fearless, but the others knew he was just as scared as they were.
Last one in's a rotten egg, he shouted, breaking into a run. The others hesitated for a moment before following, their hearts pounding in their chests.
The heavy oak door groaned open, releasing a musty odor of decay and dust. It was as if the door itself had not been disturbed for centuries, guarding secrets long forgotten by time. A chill wind swept through the foyer, raising goosebumps on their arms. The wind seemed to whisper through the cracks in the walls, carrying with it the echoes of past inhabitants. Cobwebs clung to every surface like ghostly shrouds. The air hung heavy with an oppressive silence, broken only by the frantic thud of their own hearts. Each cobweb seemed to tell a story of neglect and abandonment, adding to the eerie atmosphere. Each step deeper into the house was a step into the unknown. Floorboards creaked ominously beneath their feet as if protesting their intrusion. The sound echoed through the empty halls, amplifying their sense of dread. They huddled together, their nervous breaths forming white plumes in the cold, damp air. The group moved as one, each person drawing strength from the others, yet unable to shake the feeling of being watched. The darkness seemed to press in on them, suffocating and alive. It was a living entity wrapping around them, making it hard to breathe. Every shadow seemed to move, every corner held a potential threat, and the oppressive atmosphere weighed heavily on their minds. A giggle, high-pitched and chilling, echoed from the top of the stairs. The teenagers froze, their blood turning to ice. The sound seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, all at once, sending shivers down their spines. It was as if the very walls of the old house were alive, whispering secrets and warnings that only the brave or the foolish would dare to ignore.
Did you hear that? Whispered Emily, her eyes wide with terror. Her voice trembled, barely audible over the pounding of her heart. She clutched her friend's arm, seeking comfort in the midst of the growing dread.
On the dusty surface of an old mirror, a message appeared as if scrawled by an unseen hand. Turn back while you still can. The letters seemed to glow with an eerie light, casting a sinister reflection that made the room feel even colder. It was a warning, clear and unmistakable, yet the pull of curiosity was strong. A sudden gust of wind slammed a door shut with a deafening boom. The sound echoed through the house, making the walls tremble. It was as if the house itself was trying to trap them, to keep them from leaving.
Lisa gasped, her hand flying to her mouth to stifle a scream. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for any sign of what might have caused the noise. The fear was palpable, a living thing that seemed to grow with each passing second.
Their bravado had evaporated, replaced by a primal fear that tightened its grip with each passing moment. The once confident group now huddled together, their faces pale and their breaths shallow. They could feel the weight of the house's history pressing down on them, a history filled with whispers and warnings that had gone unheeded for far too long.
Turn back while you still can. The message was clear, but the question remained. Would they heed the warning, or would their curiosity lead them deeper into the unknown?
They stumbled back towards the entrance, their eyes darting from shadow to shadow. Panic welled up inside them, threatening to consume them. A cold, clammy hand clamped down on Jake's arm. He screamed, a shrill, desperate sound that echoed through the empty house. They spun around to see a shadowy figure, tall and skeletal, dragging Jake towards the impenetrable darkness of a gaping doorway.
Jake!
Emily cried out, reaching for him, but her fingers grasped only empty air. The shadowy figure and its captive were gone. Terror lent them wings. They scrambled over each other in their desperate bid to escape the house's evil embrace. Lisa tripped over a loose floorboard, her scream swallowed by the oppressive silence that descended once more. Kevin and Emily didn't dare stop. They couldn't risk looking back, couldn't bear to witness whatever fate had befallen their friends. They burst out of the house and into the night, gasping for air, their lungs burning, their hearts pounding a frantic rhythm against their ribs. They didn't slow down, didn't stop running until they reached the safety of Kevin's car. Even then they remained huddled together, trembling uncontrollably. As Kevin turned the ignition key, his headlights flickered to life, momentarily illuminating the road ahead. And that's when they saw it, the house. It stood there, silhouetted against the horizon, as if it had always been there, as if it had followed them. But this time, it seemed closer, more menacing, its empty windows like malevolent eyes watching them. A cold dread washed over them, chilling them to the bone. The house, a symbol of their terror, was not finished with them, not yet. Had it always been there, watching, waiting? Or had it moved, somehow pursuing them, hungry for more victims? The questions swirled in their minds, unanswered and unsettling. Sleep offered no escape, only a relentless replay of the night's horrors. The house and the whisper of fear it evoked would forever be a haunting presence in their lives.